right. Hello. Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome to week 13 of our Bead Stash challenge. Today we are going to make a link or a connector. We'll talk about that. And we are going to use it in a bracelet. And I'm going to use chain, I'm going to use feathers, and I'm going to use a box clasp in my design, okay? So that'll be our excitement for today. I'm Paula Montgomery from Desert Cat Creations, and I want to welcome you to week 13 of our Bead Stash challenge. Today, like I said, we're going to make a bracelet. I hope you guys have had a great week, had a chance to be creative and explore a little Bead Stash challenge of your own. I always look forward to seeing all of you, and I look forward to all of you having a good Easter. Now, I didn't make up my mind. So I will, I will not be live on Sunday, so that everybody can go out and enjoy the day. You know, sometimes Easter's the official kickoff of spring, even if you don't celebrate Easter. But if you are celebrating, you know, you get a chance to hang out with your family and not have to worry about joining me, right? So, I need to double check my schedule, but I may go ahead and do a live on Monday, to kick off the week. So I will post that. If I decide not to do the live, I will just post my cards and I will see you next Thursday. Okay. But that's my announcements for this week. Otherwise, everything's going great. So, let's go ahead and get started since we're running a little behind today. And I just want to remind everybody what we've got here. All right. So we've got to make a link today. So this is one of our cards from our findings, non-jewelry and findings deck. So this is an example where we can make our own finding. And you know what? If you do any bead wrapping, you do this all the time. And you don't even think about the fact that you're making a link. But we're going to show you that today. We are going to use, I am going to make a link by using these fun gecko beads. All right. And some wire. All right. So that's what we're going to make our links out of, right? Then we have to use chains. So I have some silver chain. I decided to do silver, and you'll see why in a minute. Well, other than the fact that you guys know I love silver. So got some chain here. We have to use feathers. So, you know, I know feathers don't necessarily go with geckos, but they do go with lizards, and we do have desert geckos here. Hey, Janelda. Hey, Lorraine. All right, so I am going to use these feather links. Isn't that cool? You know, I actually found some links, so we'll use those in our design today, which is why we're doing silver. Hey, Lorraine. All right, and we have to use a box clasp. I have this cute little flower box clasp. So if you're not familiar with how a box clasp works, normally there's a main part, which the box, right? And then you have this, my hand is blocking the light. All right, this other section, just kind of a tab, right? That slides in and locks in place. So you can hear it click, right? All right, let's do that again on the, so you squeeze down on this to open. And then you push that tab in until it clicks. Hey, Marianica. So that's the box clasp we're going to use. And then I have to design with at least 7 different components, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Got some wire, because I need wire to make my link. So that would be 5. So then I thought I would pull out some other beads that coordinated. So there's 6, 7, and I have some spacer beads, 8. Oh, and that was a different chain that I'm not using. So I have at least 8. Okay. You like that? I got that from Bargain Bead Box or Bead Box Bargains, whatever. And I thought, since I was using that with the flower, that's why I decided to bring in these flower beads. I'll make this little floral thing. And look, it's in a color that we don't necessarily usually work with. Although I kind of feel like I've made a fair amount of green this year. But anyways, let's go ahead and make our link and get started. And let's slide this stuff out of the way. You like that green? It's a chartreuse, I think. I actually bought I bought a fair amount of this at this color because I kind of like it. Two different styles of beads in this color, just because it's fun. All right, those in there. All right, so we're gonna start with making our link, and then we'll get the rest of this stuff out of the way. All right, because we got to build the bracelet around our link, right? So. Now, actually, though, I want to connect stuff to my link, so I'm going to take these feather links apart. So, you know, I got these at the local craft store, and I've seen them at more than one, so, but they are connected with jump rings, so I'm just going to open these jump rings to take them off of here. So, you know, my card says a link or a connector. So I think really, you know, sometimes you see things called a connector. Sometimes you see them called a link. I honestly don't know what the difference is. When I make cards and some of these things, I try to find what the official beady accepted language is for things. But I really don't know that there's a difference between a link. So to me, a link just has to connect to something on two sides, right? And I've seen people call, you know, a large circle a link. So I think it's kind of up to you. I think the only criteria I would say you have to have is that it has to connect to something on both sides. So I thought I would, you know, maybe connect my link directly to the feathers. So we want to make sure we get our feathers in there. I'm going to zoom in just a little more. All right. So we're going to use 22 gauge wire today. We're going to do our basic wire wrapping. So let's get our tools out. And I could just, I think if I was the one creating these beads, I would have made the hole go this way. But it's fine. It just means that we have a direction to keep in mind when we're wearing our bracelet, right? All right, so we are just gonna make a wrapped loop on both ends, and that makes our loop, but I'm going to connect it to a feather. So these are two-sided, so I don't have to worry too much about what direction I'm going. So we're doing our wrap loop here. This is 22 gauge wire, but the end of the wire is short, so I'm using my pliers to help me. Oh, why the lighting seems bad. I saw that you guys are starting to post your week 13 designs, so happy to see that. Didn't have a chance to comment on anything yet, and I am going to squeeze my wrap together because I didn't do a very good wrap here. Alright, so there's one side of my link, and it is linked to the feather. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So on this one, obviously, I have to cut the wire to and I'm making the feathers go in the same direction, so I don't know why comments, yeah, sometimes, like I said, I've had to sometimes go out and back in to get the comments to show on things. I will say I rarely use Facebook on the computer, so I'm almost always on my phone. Alright, and we are just wrapping that around. Alright, so there we have a link, and we have a link connected to two feathers. So we've already got two of our things that we needed for today's design, right? So now what do I want to, I think we need to pull a couple of these off. And I can't forget, we got to use our chain too, so maybe put some flowers there. Maybe connect it to some chain. What do you think? And the other thing is, do I need, actually, I'll wait on that. So, just noticing the end of my chain is messed up. I don't know if this is, steel chain or not, so I am going to use my it's weird. I may have to just cut that off there. All right, well, anyways, when we get there, which will be soon, so I'm going to end up making two more links here because I gotta connect my flowers. So remember, every time you're doing a wire wrap design, you're basically making a bunch of links. Or connectors, depending on what you want to call them. I don't know, do you, any of you know if there's a, in the beading world, if there's a difference between a link and a connector? Like I said, I wasn't, you know, it pretty much means the same thing, so it's probably just different people use the words depending on what language they originally, you know, were translated from or something. Yeah. I'm having a little trouble getting tight wraps today. All right, so I am going to make a loop on this other side, but I am not going to connect it to anything just yet. So when we do that, we make our circle, and then we're just going to trim that. And since we're building out from the middle, now we're going to link the other side. All right. So any of you have big plans this weekend? Are you doing Easter brunch or an egg hunt? Any of those kind of fun things? I know when I lived in Virginia, Easter always symbolized when we could go start planting our outdoor plants. But I'm not sure that's so true anymore. All right, at some point I will have to make sure that all my loops are facing the direction I want them to, but nothing special going on there. Okay. So here's what we have so far. We have our main length, then we made flower lengths too, and we're using that. So I think now I'm going to attach some chain. And like I said, I don't know, the one end of this chain is all messed up. I'm gonna have to, this is pretty thick chain, which I thought would be kind of fun. So let's go ahead and hook this. Nobody's doing anything fun, huh? Well, you know, there's nothing going on here either, but I guess I could do my show. Huh? I think I'll wait till Monday. So. In case you guys didn't tune on right away, like I said, I think decided I was probably going to just do it on Monday. Just have a relaxing day on Sunday. So. All right, so now in order to cut I gotta cut my chain, right? So, although in theory, I could hook it to the other end, but I do have this problem here, so let me get rid of this strange, I think it's just a crushed link. if in doubt on whether your chain is stainless, always use your heavy duty cutters. And this is thick chain, so definitely needed these steel in. So if I was making a necklace, which I still could, although I thought I'd make a bracelet, I'm going to go ahead and hook this to the other end of the chain, because then I can decide how much chain I actually need without having to cut the chain first, right? That link in there. Just let you know. Okay. Yeah, I'll probably do my usual noon on Monday. All right, so now we have, look at what we have here. Get my tools out of the way. All right, so we've got our middle link. So if we're building this out, remember for bracelet, you know, my clasp adds about an inch to half an inch. Half an inch to an inch, right? And I still need more components, so I was thinking this one, I would use this to do a wrap to connect the chain to the clasp. Paula, use your words. Okay. So we have one component, two components, 3, 4, because it has to be 7, 5, 6, and then if I count wire, that's 7 technically. Or I can add these spacers. I thought I could use spacers with the this other bead to connect that. So, all right, so where's my ruler? How long is our bracelet? So that main part is about 3.5 inches. So we need, what I may want to do is now connect my clasp to this link, right? So I'm not having to make adjustments after the fact, right? So that's probably the easiest. Let me see if he's kind of thinking I don't want to use this little jump ring as my connector. I think I want to connect directly to the clasp. Let's take these off. Now, if I wanted to hook this directly to the chain, that would be wonderful to have these little jump rings here, but since I'm going to wire wrap it to the chain, I don't want to do the, why is the, did I not find the hole? This one may not be a jump ring. although I think it's got to be. All right, let's try this again. There it goes. Okay, it was just off a little. All right. So let's go ahead and make a link. And I'm partly using these spacers just because I have, you know, make sure I have enough components, but also, it gives it a little look. So, all right, we got our ring. Connect that to one side of the clasp. Now I could take the clasp apart for these connections, but I'm going to leave it together at the moment. So. All right, so there's that one, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but I have to make a loop that's going to attach to the chain here. Trim that. All right. So now we're going to make the attachment for the other side. And I was at the Czech glass dealer at the Tucson show. There were some people that came into the booth and they were really excited to find this beads in this chartreuse color. So apparently it's kind of popular this year. I kind of feel like they had more of it. Although I will say I didn't buy all of this year. I already had these smaller beads. So good news is it's a color that they consistently carry. So if you buy some one year and then don't have anything to match with it, chances are you can find something down the road. There's one nice thing about the Czech glass quality. All right, one more wrap here, and then we gotta figure out how long our bracelet needs to be, right? All right, we're pulling our circle around. And that's that. So let me move some of this out of the way. I will need those. Might need these. But all right, so now we got to figure out how much length that adds to our bracelet, right? So my original part, like I said, is about 3.5, and then this is 2.25, so we're at 5 3/4. So maybe I only need like a 1/2 inch, little over 1/2 inch of chain on both sides. If I'm calculating that out right. All right, so maybe I'll do like 3/4. Or 7 loops. What gauge is that wire? It's 22 gauge wire that I'm using. All right, so we've got one side. Now, okay, so this is something to talk about, and I don't necessarily have it in. So since I have a direction on my bracelet based on that, the question is there a direction that makes sense for the clasp? And I kind of feel like it should go like this way. So that means this side. Usually I don't worry about it too much, but I'm sure there's probably some unwritten rule that I don't know. But we are going to just do it this way, okay? So I am just connecting this link that I made to my little section of chain. And now, that's really neat, Janelda, that you've got coming up. Oh, you know what? I might have cut too much chain. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. So I've got an option here, which requires me to redo something, right? If I want to make this even. Because my bracelet's basically at the length. Apparently I can't add very well, huh? It's basically at the length I need, -3. All right, so I am going to do 3. What did I have here? I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's okay. Yeah, 1. We'll do 4. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to do 4, and then we're going to cut the other chain and go back and... All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I'm cutting this guy. I can make... Yeah, I guess I could do that. We made a wrap bracelet last week. I don't know that I want to make it that long, though, so... All right, so... Got a nice short piece of chain there. And I'm hooking it on there. And then we'll we will go back and fix the other one. I suppose my other option is if it's too long, I make it into an anklet, right? Although, kind of hate to waste a nice clasp on an anklet that nobody's going to see the clasp on, right? All right, I'll fix that in a minute. All right, let's see. It's twisted at the moment. I'll have to fix all the directions on things. It actually might be at a good length right now, but I kind of wanted those chains, chain lengths to be even. Let's grab our handy dandy bracelet helper. So you can use this with the box clasp. So what I like to do is grab onto the box end. Okay. Oh. And see, I did goof up a little here. Let's see, so maybe my box should have gone the other direction. All right, so to box clasp, you can hold on to the box part, just to hold it still so it's not moving around on you. And then you, although I'm not holding it very well. All right, and then I can line that up and pop that in. And actually, so I ended up with the right length, even though the chain's shorter on one side than the other. So now the problem comes is if I go to fix it, I have to fix two sides. All right, let's think about this a minute. Let's look at what we got here. And I need to tuck some of those ends in a little. I can feel them sticking out. All right, so we've got this. And make sure the rings, so the chain doesn't really matter which direction it goes, but the box does, so I'm gonna turn that sideways, right? I know you guys can't tell what I'm doing because my fat fingers are in the way, but so you want your loop parallel to the box. Okay. Well, I'm probably not going to fix it right now, but let's talk about it. But I am going to turn this around. So right now I had my thing flipped. So you have to kind of lay it out flat. Let's look at what we've got here. So since my math apparently was poor today, is that on there? All right, so what I wanted to show here too. So I need my link. So the way these connect to there, it has to be horizontal to the ground, right? This one also has to be horizontal. This one doesn't matter because the chain can go whatever, this can go whatever. But when you have it laid out, you want this box and then you want the tab to be up, so it's all, you know, so it doesn't get twisted when you put it on, right? So, I mean, it's not that much difference. So I could decide it's okay if I was going to sell this or maybe give it as a present. I would need to go back probably and even these two parts of chain out so I had the same amount of chain on both sides. But I actually think today I'm going to leave it because I don't have time to redo it. And I don't think, you know, when I'm wearing it, it's probably not, nobody's going to really notice that one part of my chain is longer than the other. Trying to, there we go, click that on. All right, so here's what it turns out looking like. So we ended up making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 links, right? Then we used our feathers, we used our chain, and we used our box clasp. And we had 8 different components, I think. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So, all right. Here we go. We met all the requirements. It's actually, see, I was going to go back and shorten. Now I could, it's weird. My other wrist must be bigger. So I could probably, for me, I could go back and just redo this one side and shorten it. And there would be plenty of room if I just shortened it like 2. So I might do that. You never know. But it's actually, see, it's a little loose for this wrist. I don't know. We'll see what I feel like later on. But there you go. So you got to see making links today. You got to see kind of building the bracelet from the middle out, which we did that with our necklace. Whatever we made the other day, we also built from the middle out, right? So so just remember that you can build things from one end to the other if that makes sense to you. It's just sometimes if you're trying to do something that's symmetric, so it's if you're working around a focal bead, I find sometimes if I'm doing a focal, I want to start from the center out. Also, if you're trying to do a design and you want that design to hit a certain number of times in your bracelet, you also have to pay attention to that. The reality is things slide around on your wrist. You know, somebody might notice it when it's laying out for a long period of time, but probably when you're wearing it, nobody's gonna realize that, you know, something's a little bit off, right? So don't stress yourself too much. And also remember that, you know, I was reading something today because on a craft site that somebody was complaining that they had a mistake and that they couldn't now give this thing away. And, you know, none of us looking at the picture noticed the mistake because we didn't know what the original was supposed to look like. But it reminded me that, you know, like a lot of Native Americans, they will add an extra bead or intentionally add a flaw into something because in their view that only the creator, I'm not trying to get religious here, but only the creator can make something perfect that humans cannot. So they purposely put a flaw in their things. And, you know, and if you do the same thing, like you used to find a lot of like necklaces, like turquoise necklaces and something, there'd be like one red bead. And so, you know, it's something that's a little off. You need this random thing. So don't pressure yourself. If something doesn't come out perfect, it's going to look great and beautiful to somebody else because they don't know what it was supposed to look like to start with, right? I did forget one announcement. So these earrings that we made the other day, which I'm wearing. I did put together a couple little kits, and I think I'm gonna try to put together a similar kit using the other two colors of butterflies I had. So these are the butterflies. So the kit will include the ear wire, the earbud studs. These are studs, not wires. All the beads, all the spacer beads. The only thing that won't be in there is the wires or the head pins, okay? Not gonna be directions, but like I said, I will try to put together one in pink, pink and or turquoise, and I also I do have these ear pieces in gold, so I was thinking of trying to see what I have in my spacer beads to make a gold version as well if somebody would want a gold. They're stainless steel, so they're hyperallergenic either way. But if anybody's interested in that, I do have a couple of the Amazonite ones ready to go. They're going to be $12. And then, like I said, I got to check what I have for matching beads on the, I'm pretty sure I can do the pink quartz one. And I kind of think the pink quartz needs to be silver. It's so pale. I don't know. I'll have to put it next to the gold and see what I think. But if somebody wants a gold kit as opposed to silver, you can let me know. But anyways, if you're interested, those are available. And like I said, I'll try to get those pink ones together and made up. So, all right. Thanks as always for joining me. I hope you learned a little something today. And you know, you guys have gotten to see me mess up a few times lately, so there you go. It happens. We're all human, right? So if you haven't already, please like and follow me on follow Desert Cat Creations on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. All the videos do reside on YouTube after the fact, and they should be there for as long as you want. If you have any questions, feel free to direct message me at Desert Cat Creations or Paula Montgomery if you can find me, because there are more than one. And I'll be happy to get back to you. Okay, Lorraine, so you'd be interested in the butterfly kit. Would you want silver or gold? You'll have to let me know on that. Like I said, I have to see what I have in small spacer beads for gold, because I don't, it seems to me like a lot of the ones I have are bigger than the silver ones. So, and like I said, and also, do you want the Amazonite, which I know is everybody's favorite color because we discussed that, versus the pink, or the turquoise, because I have those butterflies in 3 different colors. So silver, okay, all right. Well, send me just send me a direct message. Did you want I assume you want the Amazonite with silver, which is easy because those are already put together. Or if you want something different, let me know. All right, I'll be back Monday. Well, at noon. We'll aim for that. And if that changes, I will let you guys know. And I will try to post something anyways to remind people that we're going to do our show on Monday. All right. See you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye.